Hello, everyone. Welcome to Freshly Pressed. This is your host Saurabh, and today with us we have Brandon. From
Hi.
with yeah, how are you doing, Brandon?
Good, good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. So, tell us a bit about yourself first, and how did you get into comics, and a bit of your history.
Yeah, I mean comics weren't really my thing growing up. I always like comic book movies and all that good stuff. I just wasn't reading them on a regular basis like I feel like a lot of people end up doing in this kind of industry, I guess. But I was a big fan of the movie industry growing up. My dad was a big fan of movies. We always watched movies. And then senior year of high school, I wanted to kind of do movies. So I went to New York City to look at a film school and I figured out it's way,
Mm.
way too much. So I came back and got a normal person job per se. And a couple years later, I met Alan Dingfelder, and we kind of went back and forth on the idea of kind of starting our own kind of production and comic and all that stuff because he was into music way back then, and that kind of sparked up our interest in getting back into creativity, and then Avalon was birthed.
That's amazing. Well,
Yeah,
never say never. I
yeah,
mean,
right. It's just like it could stay in the basement for a while, and then you just meet that person, and then that's that.
Absolutely. And maybe there's a movie in there from based on this comic sometime later in
Right,
your
yeah,
life.
well, that was the original idea though too, so I'm sure something could be made up here.
That's so good. Awesome. So I the artwork looks really fascinating and it looks really good. And some of the pages that you've put on your Kickstarter campaign page do look.
Yeah,
I didn't go through everything, but they look a lot like. It gave me a lot of like Sin City kind of feel,
yeah.
especially with the color grading and like how the grays and the blood is red and the grays are there in the background. Yeah, was that your intention? Like we.
Not necessarily. It just ended up looking like that. Yeah, Demetrius's art style evolved from issue one. It's the same artist from issue one to five that we have right now, and so on. It's going to be for so on. But the art you could tell immediately that the art style from issue one and two are different. We both evolved. I've evolved in the writing aspect of everything, and he's definitely involved in the artist aspect of everything, and that just shows the progression of Avalon, and we're excited for it. But after issue one was done, he hit me up and told me that, hey, I have this new style, I've been getting better over time and blah 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 and all that, and I was like,
Mm,
okay. And then he's like, and then I was getting real nervous about the fact of it because I'm a big consistent person. I didn't want anything really changed and all that stuff too. And then he showed me it, and then I was like, yeah, it's great. It's wonderful. We're going to move forward with it. And then this is it. This is going to be the style because when he showed it to me, I knew right away that this is like what Avalon needs to look like. And when he showed me, it was
yeah.
perfect. And then as he gets better and better with the panel layouts and how he uses the whole pages and how he uses like blood off of a character and outlines a panel with it, it's phenomenal that he can do all that stuff with.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing. And sorry, I maybe we should dial back a little and let you talk about what the comic is about, you know?
Yeah, sure, right, yeah. Avalon is a post-apocalyptic comic book. We like to kind of give the slogan where it has a little bit of something for everybody. That's kind of our big goal in the writing room, is trying to make sure that anybody can pick this comic book up and relate to any character that's in it. But the big things are focusing on the realism and the kind of world that we're in, mental health, real life physical issues, and all that good stuff. I guess not good stuff, but it's really kind of shining a light on it because people deal with it on a day to day basis. So people have those things that are normal to them, but then way back then when I was thinking about this idea way back in high school, the question came to my mind is how would I survive in the zombie apocalypse? So I'm kind of trying to
Mm,
make that part of the writing room where it's like, how would I survive in the zombie apocalypse? And let's have it so everybody can pick this up and ask that same question and find a character that they can relate to, or characters. Not everybody relates just to one person. So and kind of make that the mentality moving forward. And I guess let's get to a quick thing of what Avalon's about. There's no hero's journey. You're following the Castle family through this kind of nightmarish world, and their
mm,
goal is to find everlasting safety. You find out immediately that they're kind of disarranged and all that stuff too. A lot of drama that's happened inside the family before the apocalypse even started. A lot of question marks. They don't know what to do, and all that stuff. With the youngest brother having anxiety and depression, and other family members dealing with physical issues that I was mentioning as well. And then Andy,
Mm.
the oldest brother, which is the police officer, isn't in the same town as them anymore. He's about 45 minutes away. He's in the city. He's a city cop, and the family's in this kind of, I don't know, like wood. It's, I don't know how to explain it. Small town kind of area,
Small.
40. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, it's just a bunch of crazy stuff going on before the apocalypse, and then you get a crack at the apocalypse, and then they have to kind of put their differences aside.
Wow, that surely does sound really fascinating. I think we've seen a few of those themes before, but
Hmm.
not really presented in this way. Like
Hmm.
especially not focusing on and also shining light on like mental health issues and
Hmm.
and physical health issues and things like that. So maybe like that definitely makes it stand out from the crowd.
Yeah,
In
and
a sense, yeah.
obviously that was the goal. And then I was a huge fan of zombie genre stuff growing up. So and obviously that's what pushed me in this direction. But every thing has its flaws for sure. And I guess my personal flaws. I don't want to say everything had a flaw. My personal flaws, and I wanted to kind of make all the things I liked about zombie movies and shows growing up and watching, and kind of put it all into one. And that's kind of what the
Mhm.
idea is here with Avalon. And obviously it's important to have a good team around you to make sure all those things are being met, and you're staying on the tracks and not getting sidetracked with trying to make everything amazing, every issue, the best issue ever made, because then you get steered away from like the goal of the story arc and all that stuff. But yeah. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. And like almost all the zombie movies do definitely like they talk about some sort of like societal issues
Mhm.
or things like that. By the way of like the medium's always zombies, and but they always talk about some larger issue
Yeah.
at hand, so.
Yeah, and I think that's why we wanted to kind of ground it in a household kind of mentality rather than making it a bigger thing. And that's a little bit of a reason why we wanted to steer away from the hero's journey, because that's been done time and time again. You follow this main character, and then you follow their journey through the whole deal. But we wanted to kind of make each character kind of its own thing, especially in the family, and then some other people that are going to be in the same group, per se, and make them all feel like as their own main characters in this world. And anybody who picks it up, if you were to pick it up, you could look at it and go, okay, this is who I think the main character is, based off of what you're looking for in a character and what you feel like you relate to. Obviously there's going to be some characters that feel like they're more main than others, and some people think this person's the main, that person's the main, all that stuff too. But there's going to be a whole kind of thing going forward. That's like kind of the mentality moving in the writers' room.
No, that's really amazing and fascinating as well. Cool. Awesome. So what yeah, I usually ask this to everyone. What are your, maybe I'll make it more specific to zombie genre because you love movies and you love zombie genre as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what are your like top five movies slash TV shows in the zombie genre?
Oh wow. So obviously, right off the bat, I would say probably The Walking Dead would be my number one. And with that being said, Walking Dead being my number one show slash movie, um, we're trying to do. We're gonna do things that you kind of take. Try to stay away from copying. I don't want people to pick up Avalon and be like, oh, this is the next Walking, or this is the Walking Dead 2.0. I don't want that. That's not the goal. Anybody else who's making a zombie independent indie zombie story right now that I know right now, like Path of the Pale Rider and Rays, same idea. We
Mm,
love these shows and these movies, but we want to kind of make our own. We don't want to be
yeah,
bracketed with them, other than the fact that it's a zombie story. We want to be like, okay, this is Avalon. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like they think that. But with that being said, The Walking Dead. Um, the next one I would have to say it would be the Dawn of the Dead remake. That was a
Mhm.
fun, intense movie, and the nostalgia and like the kind of the classic feel I like a lot is Night of the Living Dead, the original one.
The
The
original
black
one.
and white one. I really for some reason I really enjoy that. I don't know why.
Mm,
it's made in the what I think the '60s or something like that. It's real old. It's like not like anything like you see now, but it's just something about it I really enjoy. Um,
yeah.
but then like I other than those three, I mean I like them all for different reasons. So I don't even know if I can list off five right out of the gate, but it just I don't know. I like Land of the
Yeah.
Dead for different reasons. So they're all kind of like equal, I guess. After those three, yeah, I'm a big fan of
Yeah.
all of them, unless they're really, really, really bad, and we know that there's really, really bad ones out there. But most of all, like I like them all pretty much equal after those three mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. I think my list, I think I shared this with Sam as well. 28 Days Later is
Of
one
course,
of my
yep,
favorites.
yep.
It's really good, very well done. Um, the other one was I've watched this more recently. Obviously, Train from Busan is one of the
Oh
top
yeah, I
zombie
forgot
movies.
about that. That was a very fun one too. I'll put that at my number four. That was a very fun one, and I was because
Yeah,
I hate reading subtitles because it takes me away from the what's going on screen. But that one you really don't need to because it's like so short and like, quick. It's more
yeah,
of like a like running away surviving thing. That was a good movie. That was a fun one.
absolutely. And there's also more recently I watched this Japanese movie called One Cut of the Dead, which I think you will love because it is about making movies and also about zombies. It just combines the two things.
That sounds like
so
a cool idea.
yeah, so this whole movie making crew, they're shooting a movie in a warehouse and they're surrounded by zombies, and
Okay.
they're trying to make a movie in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. It's a really fun idea. It's so well done. It's shot like a comedy. It's
Okay.
like a horror comedy, and
Yeah.
the gimmick is it's obviously edited, but it's made to look like one shot. So that's why it's called One Cut of the Dead. It's a very meta movie of both
Yeah.
zombie and movie genres. It's really well done. Yeah, just check it out.
Yeah, I like the concept of it. I'll have to. What is it on? Like Netflix or something?
I don't remember where I've watched it. It was one of the Australian streaming services that streams
Oh,
international movies. So yeah, yeah.
okay. I'll have to find out where that's at then. That sounds like a funny kind of like sit down board night kind of movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's very nice. So, maybe getting into the next section, what's your writing methodology is like? Do you like plan your arcs well in advance, or like do you write like an entire like 5 issue story, or how far along do you plan your arcs and stuff?
So yeah, it each arc we got so far is going to be 6 issues each. We call them. It's easier for me to call them a season. So I break them up in seasons. But so it varies. Right now it's different than what it was when I first started writing. It was Alan and I in the beginning, and we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do. So we just wrote issue one. I had a general idea of what I wanted to do for the first season. So we wrote issue one, and then we were going to push issue one out. As and find an artist and get moving on that, and then start writing. The idea that we had. Everything that was all the bullet points and all that we had written down. And then we realized okay, this is all just issues screwed up. We need to do something with it. So we pulled it back, and then we found out that we stretched that original issue one that we had up into 3 issues that you're seeing now that are out in the public now. So we were able to do that with just one. It was so you can imagine how compact that issue was. It was just nuts. It was stupid, but good thing we pulled that back and figured that out. But with that in mind as well, so then we finished the first arc, and a lot of that was finished before, or in the beginning of when we had Demetra. So what's going to be cool for us because we just added Callie Oberlander to our writer room now. She kind of edited a little bit of a couple of the issue 5 and 6, and then she's going to be a big part of season two. And we're working on
Mm,
that right now. So we're doing it a little bit different. We're getting very, very specific with what we want now and the issues, rather than like I had a general idea, I had the bullet points down, and then okay, let's just tell the story from issue 1 to 6. And so with issue or season two, it's going to change to a way where like I said, it's going to be a very detailed season, bullet point, I guess, and then broken down by issues, and then we're going to do the dialogue. And I feel like that's what we're
Mm.
going to be doing going forward. And what it's going to be cool and it's going to be fun knowing what Demetrius is able to do now, and kind of write those panels out and see. And or maybe I just do it the same way, and he lets at it, because a lot of the pages he's just like, I have a cool idea for this. He pitches it to me, he
Mm.
sends me the pencils, and then we roll with it. Because 99% of the time it's a good idea, and we're moving forward with it. It's one of those things where it's like, let the artist be the artist. He sees it in a picture form, and I'm just like, yep, it looks great. Let's roll. Let's do it.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have spoken to a lot of people, and like almost everyone says the same thing. Like when artists add their flair to the whole story, like
yeah.
they add a very different flair to it, and they also come up with some of the ideas that make it better all the time, and it's all the time.
Yeah, yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly. Because that's just their mentality. That's the way they see it. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because there's no way half of these scenes or these pages he sends me, I could ever think it in my mind. There's no way I could be like, oh, this will be cool. So I have it all written down, but he just elevates it even more, and like makes it even more cool to kind of see it on screen or on pay, in a physical form and all that good stuff. But I think it's important, especially when you establish a relationship with them, to let them just go free with it. Don't kind of hold them back. I did that with issue one a little bit, but we just met. And we're trying to like figure this out together and all that. And then after that is when it was just everything started
Yeah.
unfolding with him.
No, that's amazing. I think, and also to your point of treating your arc like a season, I that's my personal feeling as well. I always read comics as if they're like a TV show, like they're
Yeah.
very episodic, and every issue is self-contained and has its own story, but it also carry forwards the story from the previous issue, and I just and also sets up the next one. So there's
Yeah.
also there's a lot of like, yeah, um lot going on in a single issue in terms of writing. You have to have a beginning that flows nicely with the
Mhm.
previous one, and then ending that goes into the next one, and
Yeah, I think that's a good way of reading it. That's how I read comics. I think it just makes sense too much to not do it like that. And just being from movies or loving movies and wanting to make movies, and honestly working on scripting as well, it just makes it a whole lot easier to kind of have that mentality, bringing it into the comic book kind of world. But and yeah, it's just easier to read it that way, and it's easier to write it that way.
Absolutely. And it gives you a lot of freedom when you're doing the next arc, say for example, the second season, right? Like then
Yeah,
you can maybe switch up your style, or change a few things
and
around, and yeah.
yeah, that's cool that you mentioned that too, because that was actually one of the ideas, and it's kind of have its own, it's going to have its own message overall for the season, but then also doing a subtle style change, or like that fits that season. It's going to be the same thing from issue 7 to 12. I'm trying to think of what the end of the season would be, but 7 to 12, but that's what I'm saying. So it's just like to have that and change that little thing. It's cool that you mentioned that, because that was actually brought up like last year sometime for the next season, to kind of do something like that. It's cool. Yeah, it's you can do a lot of things with seasons and cutting them off.
Mm.
You're picking up where you left off with the prior season, but you're molding a season, and then you're also setting up for the future and all that stuff too. So yeah, it's fun. There's a lot of opportunity.
No, that's really nice. And also I think you're I haven't read any of the issues, but from the sound of it, it looks like it's also the core focus is around the family and their survival in this world. So world is mainly a setting, but the whole story revolves around the family and how these characters react to the world and interact with each other, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of the idea moving forward. And as I said before, instead of following the hero's journey, you're following this whole family or this group that you're gonna, kind of be moving forward with. And so that's kind of the main character as a whole. And then on the other side, the world is a main character. And another thing that we want to keep in the writer's room is not give anybody plot armor. So if somebody, it's kind of a roll of a dice every single time. Like if you or I were to make a dumb decision and do something dumb in the real world, we would have bad consequences with it. So, or if you just do something dumb in general, like you do something bad, like you're going to get a bad consequence with it. So with that in mind, moving on with these characters, if they do something dumb or they make a dumb mistake, then they're going to have to pay for it. It's either going to be their life or something like that as well. So we want to kind of make it so the world dictates what's happens to these characters rather than the writers being like, no, he needs to be here or she needs to be here for the next of this season because of this. No, if they do something dumb, then they're gonna they're gonna pay the price, and if
Yeah,
and unfortunately their role is done. You know what I mean? So there is no arc that you expected was going to happen because the world took that away. You could be mad at it, you could hate it, but whatever it is, that's the real world, and we want to try to bring realism into this comic as much as possible.
that's very nice. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Cool. Awesome. Moving back again into some of the pop culture stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, what's the maybe again like top five of like movies that you've watched in maybe last 10 years? Any of them?
You said the 10 years, right?
Yeah, 10 years or
Okay.
whatever. Maybe it's
Yeah,
all
I guess
time. Whatever
yeah,
you
all time,
will be
whatever
your
it is.
top
Yeah.
five. Yeah,
Um, one of my favorite ones, and I just look at every time there's like an interview here. I have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood poster right above me here. That for some reason that one always sticks with me. I love that movie, and it's a great movie. I love Quentin Tarantino. He's one of my inspirations for writing and all that stuff as well. Anything Quentin Tarantino, I'd put on there easily. He does a phenomenal job with all of his projects. What is it?
I
Oh, I
have
love it.
Pulp
I love it.
Fiction.
I love
Yeah,
that. I feel like I've seen. Where did you get that? Because I feel like I've seen that art somewhere.
I got it from eBay, I think.
Okay, because I swear I've seen that probably on one of those Facebook groups that I'm in. I swear I've seen that, but I have like the little CD thing I found
Yeah,
in my parents' basement, and I was like, I'm taking that. Sucks to be that, but and this whole wall over here is just Once Upon a Time in Hollywood stuff. But yeah, big fan of all of his
nice.
movies, honestly, for different reasons. And but I like stupid little cult classics too, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, stuff like that. Oh no, fucking Jesus Christ! I'm looking at it as I'm saying Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, Big
That's a
Trouble.
great movie.
Yeah,
That's a great movie.
I'm a big fan of cult classics and stuff like that. But obviously, like Walking Dead. I even like Stranger Things a lot. There's a lot of things like after season one, too. Like is when they really started to form. I feel like
Yeah,
they had a goal with season one, and then I feel like they did that kind of thing. Like each season, they kind of changed their style a little bit, which is actually really cool. That now that we brought that up earlier, now it kind of
yeah,
brings itself back in that they did that was kind of a cool deal.
yeah.
But I'm trying to think of another cult classic I like. It bothers me I can't think of it off the top of my head right now because I'm thinking about cult classics right now. And like the Evil Dead franchise. Another thing. Oh,
It's
the whole
really good.
franchise, the show, the old ones, the original two, and then Army of Darkness, and all. Yeah, love that stuff too. I have a bunch of a bunch of figures back there, and this room's a mess. Hence why the background is blurred
It's
out. It just figures. It's stuff. I still have to set up everything. It's just a mess. But yeah.
no, that's amazing. I was talking to someone else a few weeks back, and I did a double feature, John Carpenter double feature that night, a night before, and I watched this one. It's just They Live
Okay.
and
Okay.
Assault on Precinct 13 back to back. It was really like it's such a fun night. Just those two movies. They're quite underrated in my opinion.
Oh,
Especially like I think Assault on Precinct 13 is so underrated.
I don't know. I don't even know what that is. I don't think I've seen that. What is it again?
Assault on Precinct 13. It
I
was
don't think I've
definitely
seen
check
that.
it out. It's such a good. It's a classic. It's really well done. Yeah.
There's a remake too, so not the remake.
It's not well, not a big fan of remake.
Okay, so
Though the
1976
actors in
one.
remake are really good. It stars Lawrence Fishburne and Ethan Hawke, but the older one is much better for
Okay,
sure.
I'm gonna have to watch the. I don't think I've ever seen it. If I've seen anything of it, it was videos here and there, but I definitely seen They Live, which I'm a big fan of that. That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah, yeah.
It's been years since I saw that, but that's a good movie. Very underrated, I
It,
believe, as well.
absolutely, absolutely. And the only thing I don't love in They Live is the social commentary is a bit on the nose, but I mean, it was just John Carpenter going all out, you
Yeah,
know?
he's like, screw it. Yeah, exactly. No, that's a good point though too. But it's funny that he did just go all out with that as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't know. Big fan of John Carpenter. I'm not that big of a horror fan, but I don't know why. Just love his work. Just I think maybe music and all things combined. Like he
The
makes
way he puts it
so
together, probably, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of I mean, a lot of horror classics, like you said, if you're not a horror fan, just, I love The Thing, t the original Thing. That
yeah,
was a real good one. I mean, and Kurt Russell's performance in that was just amazing, he
yeah.
always is great. I love him and everything he does, honestly, but and obviously the Halloween series, that was kinda like my first kind of introduction to the horror kind of genre. And I've told a story before where I've watched it very, very young. Don't remember the exact age. I just know it's very, very young. My dad my dad had it on, and I had the same nightmare for years after it. He would it was a never-ending chase in my for whatever reason my grandma's house. He would chase me around my grandma's house and I could never get away. And it's just recently, like probably within the last 10 years, kind of went away. And but I haven't
Wow.
had that dream since.
I do vividly remember watching Evil Dead as a kid, and I had nightmares for like days at end, like after watching Evil Dead. Like,
Yeah, oh yeah.
the,
I heard the original back then when people watched it in theaters or back then. It was one of the scariest movies ever seen, and which is crazy to me because when you watch the original now, it's like kind of like
it
cheesy.
is hilarious. It is amazing.
That's what I'm
Yeah, yeah,
saying, but it's just like uh, obviously with the Evil Dead 2, they went with a comedic kind of route with it, but the horror comedy kind of deal with it too, but still kind of like they did that thing. But it's funny watching those. I love those, the classics like that.
yeah. And maybe I said something wrong. I'm not a fan of horror. I'm not a fan of more horror genre that's modern, like the more
Okay,
recent ones. But I do love the classic horror movies. Like
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. No, no. So I was just saying, like for example, The Exorcist, right? Like the whole horror doesn't come from the fact that the girl's possessed. It's from the fact that her mother is not able to find answers in science, and she's such a believer in science and not in the god. So
Hmm.
just that whole like that's a very different kind of horror than like maybe jump scares and things like that.
Yeah, no, I could see what you mean there because I mean, I feel like today's horror is missing the point, like you're mentioning. There's a broader kind of thing to it rather than being like, oh, here, let me scare you real quick, and what's the next best jump scare and all that stuff too. I feel like they're losing that a little bit. That's why I'm not a really big into horror, kind of like that, the jump scare horror. And I know there's different categories in it and all that stuff. And the last one I feel like that actually really scared me was in the first Insidious. And
Mhm.
other than that, I'm sure I've seen movies that was like creepy or maybe I got jump scared once or twice, but the overall movie was like, you know what I mean? Like the last one that was good and actually was like scaring the hell out of me was the first Insidious.
Yeah, the more recent thing that I did enjoy was Haunting of House Hill and all the Flanagan's work.
Yeah,
If you've seen Midnight Mass on Netflix, that shit was so good. It was really well done. It was a very different kind of horror as well.
I don't know if I feel like I've definitely heard it. I don't think I've ever seen it though. I don't even know who's in it or what it is and all that good stuff. But
You must definitely check it out. I think it's and like obviously I'll not spoil it. Like it's I would say I was not expecting where it went after like the third episode. It just went in a completely different direction, and it was completely unexpected, and I absolutely loved it. So yeah.
okay. Okay, yeah, I'll have to write it down then. Here, I'm gonna put it on a tab right here so I don't forget about it.
No, yeah.
But yeah, I'm always open to watching things, and whenever the hell you get your downtime or whatever it is, and just watch something and have fun with it. But I
Yeah,
mean, obviously, I watched the recent Evil Dead too. It had its own It wasn't like a jump scary movie, but it had its, it paid homage to the old ones, and then it brought its new elements to it, and it was good. I like the new Evil Dead.
nice. Now I have heard good things about it. I just haven't got around to watching it yet.
Yeah, I definitely think you should get around to watching, especially if you like that old style horror and all that stuff too. It really tries to bring the classic kind of Evil Dead into like in modern era and all that stuff too, and it does a good job. I really enjoyed it.
Nice, nice. Is there? I do see some of like there's also like coming back to the book. There's also like a lot of blood and gore in the book,
Mhm.
and um, do you like? Are you a big fan of gore as well? Like, or like there's obviously you need to do it in a certain way. It has to be tasteful, and
Mhm.
so people don't. Because it's very visual and very visceral as well, right? So
Yeah.
what's your general take on like blood and gore in like books and movies and
I think whatever your project is, if it's what we're doing here or whatever the movie might be, it needs to fit for the movie. If you want to be outlandish with the blood, you want to be like, Kill Bill or something like that. We'll talk about Quentin Tarantino. If you want to be like that, like the blood's just ridiculous. It's just like
yeah,
things spitting
yeah,
everywhere. There's a lot of blood everywhere. Like, but it fits what he's doing there. And
yeah,
there's other movies that you have to strategically do it and have all the good stuff, or you could really have fun with it. I do like blood. I think it could be very, very fun. It could be very like annoying at sometimes depending on what you're watching, and they could do it wrong. I don't know why, but to me sometimes if you do blood wrong, it makes me mad. But overall, yeah, obviously there's going to be some blood, and the way Demetrius actually utilizes the blood as well makes it even that much better. It's not like I was like Avalon when I was thinking of Avalon, like okay, this needs to be the goriest zombie genre comic I've ever had. I mean, nothing like that. It was just it fits for what it is. It fits the style that he brings, and it fits what's going on in the story element of it all. And like as you could even tell with the two covers here that are on screen, it's just like he
yeah,
utilizes the
yeah.
blood, like down like in issue 4, you have the family walking forward and Andy walking away,
Mhm.
using the blood as the reflection, and other things like issue 5 there is just kind of connecting all of it and kind of showing the horror-ish kind of element that they're kind of walking into,
Mm,
and all the
mm,
little Easter eggs in that issue 5 too as well. Actually, he
yeah,
came up with both of those ideas.
those
I
covers
told
are gorgeous.
yeah, I told him the premise of what it was, and then he just kind of took it away and really blew it out of the water there. I like it. I'm in love with both those covers.
Absolutely, they're amazing. Do you have any like variant covers as well, done by others, or yeah?
So I always talk to Sam and Lori about this stuff too. I don't know if you've ever met Lori or not, if she was on the show, but um, we go back and forth all the time. I said, I'm assuming you get your hair cut, right?
Yeah.
Do you go to the same
Yep.
barber or hairstylist, whatever it is?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much every
Well,
time.
I,
Yeah.
I guess I guess it's not. Yeah, it's one of those things. I've always heard it. You don't cheat on your barber. You don't leave your barber for another barber. And so the way my mentality is right now, is Demetrius is Avalon. Demetrius is what Avalon is. To the eye. Obviously. So anybody who picks it up is like everything visual is done by him, and he does such a phenomenal job and all that stuff too. He does his variant covers to Avalon. Like we had multiple covers for, I don't know if you call them variants, but he does multiple covers for. He did it for 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're doing that. So I'm still on that thing. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to, you know what I mean? So, but I do
Yeah.
understand the idea of it as well. I'm a variant cover collector myself. With the Walking
Mm,
Dead Deluxe Edition, there's like 10 of them for each issue, and you're like grabbing all of them
yeah.
and all that stuff. But I do understand the idea of it. And actually, Lori, I don't think you said you met her, but she almost sold me on the idea. I'm still on the fence a little bit, but I almost have my foot off on the other direction. But she was telling me that bringing another artist on, at least to do the cover, because obviously Demetrius is Avalon. He does the interior, he does the standard cover, and maybe even his own variant as well. But adding another artist to do a variant cover can bring a crowd to Avalon that also sees
Yeah.
his Demetrius's work. So it helps out Avalon and it helps out Demetrius as well because they're bringing to Avalon to see his art and his work and kind of, and then that can kind of, it can come from here to come to Avalon to come to, obviously Avalon has its base because of that, and then go to Demetrius as well. So it's kind of like a triangle effect. So maybe it's a big maybe right now, but we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. No, I think the usual thinking behind having different artists for variant covers is that you have various styles, different styles to portray
Yeah.
the same ideas, and a lot of times it does work in the favor of both the artist of the book and the book itself. And the story. It's just like a different take. What
Yeah.
would this person think about the same concept?
Yeah,
So
which
yeah.
is definitely a cool thing for sure. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of the variants. I always get them. Only for comic series I like. I don't just get them because I'm like, oh, I mean, unless it's a really cool color, I don't go into the comic and I'm like, I'm just looking for variants. You know what I mean? But most I only mostly get them for comics that I like. And then unless, like I said, if it's a very very cool cover, then I just see it walk into the cash register or something, I'll grab it. But other than that, I'm like, okay, yeah. But I do understand it, and like I said, I'm
Nice.
I'm almost there. I'm almost gonna put my toe on the grass on the other side of the fence, so we'll see what happens.
What are some of the other like rewards you've kept? Any unique rewards? Have you thought about any tiers, special tiers you have?
Yeah, I mean, one obviously that comes to mind for this one is Demetrius is in Greece. He lives in Greece, so he's far away from me and all that good stuff. But we decided to do original pencil work, so on 11 by 17 poster, and Demetrius drew them out, just the pencils. He signed them. It's obviously him. He sent them over. I have them physically already, so that's nothing that somebody has to like get it and go, oh, am I ever going to get this? And so they're already here. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just once the campaign is over and all that, you will get those. But that's kind of the unique one. And then we're doing another one. The most expensive tier would be you get everything that we have, like the goodie bag and all that good stuff. And then we're going to do a thing where Demetrius will draw either if it's you or somebody you want, like a custom character for you in his art style in the world of Avalon, like in an action scene. So like you'll be fighting off the infected or zombies and all that stuff. But that's the expensive tier. So it'll be a custom kind of character that you want to throw in there if it's you or if it's Michael Myers, whatever it is, all that stuff, like fighting off Avalon infected. So, and that's kind of a cool thing that actually Callie came up with. And that's what we're
Nice.
doing for that. And yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I always love these unique rewards.
Yeah, yeah. No, they definitely get crazy and they get good. It's
Mm,
trying to figure out what fits for the time being and all that stuff too. That's the hard part.
yeah, yeah, very, very true. Awesome. We're coming to time, but maybe before we leave, I'll give you 2 minutes to pitch the book to the audience again, and yeah, just take it from here.
Yeah. So Avalon is, like I said, is a you follow the Castle family through this whole nightmarish journey. They're looking for everlasting safety. You figure out that they're a disarranged family that's dealing with a lot of anxiety and depression, and physical illnesses that they need surgery for. You kind of pick up through that for issues, and what's happening with all that. So with the oldest brother Andy, which is a police officer, out of kind of connection with them for right now. And the family in a small town is kind of dealing with all their personal issues. Andy's not around to help out or kind of be there with them. And then he's getting caught up in his own stuff that's happening in the city there. So, and then boom, an apocalypse happens. And now they have to kind of get together, find their way to safety. And the whole idea right now, I guess, for this first season right now is can they stay alive and together through this whole thing? So you find out very quickly that some characters we're not having any plot armor for characters, so it's a fun kind of story and all that stuff. We're focusing on a lot of fun stuff.
That's awesome. I haven't read any of the issues, so I'm going to get all five of them.
Yeah,
So yeah, but yeah, all the best for your campaign, and I hope it gets funded really fast, and people get to read
so do I.
your amazing work. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. I appreciate that, and anybody who does it, obviously, I don't think you're going to regret it. You know, we have a cheap PDF tier, $20 for all five of them. So it just if you wanted, that's what I even kind of threw it out on the social medias many times. Like if you wanted to just give it a try, even just because the art style, if you like art, you know, the art style is very good. You know, and you're not sure about the story, just buy that PDF and then kind of move forward with it, and then come we'll be here, you know, we're still going to be here. Issue 6 we're planning on coming out at the end of the year, and then we're going to and have big plans for next year as well. So yeah, that's
That's
what we can say.
amazing. Awesome. Thanks a lot for coming on the show, Brandon. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me. It was a fun time.
Awesome.